Hello my friends, in today's video we will take a look at the Viltrox AF 75mm F1.2 XF Pro. Viltrox is becoming one of the most important manufacturers of X-mount lenses. 75mm F1.2 is yet another addition to the lineup, and it is the first Viltrox XF lens with a Pro designation. In this video we will take a look at the optical qualities of this lens in combination with the new 40MP sensor and other features to help you decide whether you should get one. As the title suggests, it should be interesting. 75mm on APS-C translates to 112.5mm full frame equivalent. It is a bit unusual focal length, but much like other short telephoto lenses, it is suitable for portraits, objects that are far away, or architectural details, for example. I have mainly used it for cityscape photography, and it actually worked pretty well for that. At f1.2 it can provide a lot of subject separation and background blur. The lens is 10.1 cm long and it weighs 670 grams. That is actually quite compact for a bright short telephoto lens. It is a very good match for the X-H2. It has a very good grip, so the whole combination is not that front heavy. It is a little bit less ideal on X-T cameras, but it still works. The build quality is fantastic. The outer construction is completely metal, including the focusing ring. It feels very solid and I can definitely say premium. It certainly punches above the price point in this regard. The mount is metal as well, of course. As you can see, there is also a USB-C port for firmware updates, which is very convenient. This lens is weather sealed and it has a substantial rubber gasket around the mount. It uses 77mm filter thread, which is relatively popular diameter, so getting filters for this lens should be quite easy. A lens hood is included in the box. It is a standard plastic lens hood, but it is sufficiently long and it gets the job done, so I have nothing to complain about. Regarding the control elements, there is the focusing ring and aperture ring. Focusing ring is sufficiently large. It uses focus-by-wire system, so it is completely smooth. There is a bit more resistance than with other Viltrox lenses, but I was still able to make these repetitive focus pulls with no issues at all. The aperture ring has clicks at 1/3 of a stop increments. The ring is very tactile and it has a nice amount of resistance, so it is very pleasant to use. If you prefer changing the aperture in camera, you can simply switch to A position and use the command dial. Besides that, there is also AF/MF switch, which is quite useful. So how about the optical qualities? This is actually the first lens that I am testing with the new 40MP X-Trans5 HR sensor in Fujifilm X-H2. This sensor is extremely demanding when it comes to the optical quality, so let's see how it works together. The central sharpness is absolutely fantastic right from f1.2. The resolution is as good as it gets, the contrast is maximal, and there is no chromatic aberration whatsoever. That is pretty amazing. There is actually no room for improvements, so it stays this sharp throughout the apertures. There is a very slight decrease of contrast at f11, but the resolution is still perfect. The image quality in the corners is once again absolutely brilliant. The resolution is maximal right from f1.2, the contrast is fantastic, and there is no sign of chromatic aberration. There is a little bit of noise though, we will get to that later. The noise disappears around f2. From f2 to f8 you will get perfect image quality in the corners. There is a tiny decrease of contrast at f11, but the image quality is still great. To be honest, these are quite shocking results, especially at this price point. This lens is optically pretty much perfect in combination with a very demanding 40MP sensor. Together with the Fujifilm XF 18mm f1.4, it is optically the best crop lens that I've ever tested. The real-world images reflect the results from the testing scene. The images are just super crisp with excellent contrast. Together with the color science in the X-H2, it produces a very nice colors as well. This is also another lens that proves that the 40MP APS-C sensor makes sense, and it is possible to match this kind of pixel density. I'm not sure what is the situation with profile corrections, but it automatically applies a profile in Lightroom listed among Fuji lenses. There is basically no distortion, so the only thing that it does is that it brightens the corners, which causes the noise that I've talked about. The noise is gone by f2, so it is not a big deal. Another strength of 75mm XF is the bokeh. At f1.2 you can get a very shallow depth of field at this kind of focal length. The bokeh itself is very smooth and generally pleasant. Bokeh balls are perfectly round in the center of the frame, but you will get cat eye shapes towards the edges. Overall, I am happy with the bokeh. Minimum focus distance is 88 cm, which translates to 0.1 times magnification. That is about average for this type of lens. It is okay for something like flowers, but it is not suitable for semi-macro stuff. Regarding the autofocus, it generally works well in reasonable situations. It is very accurate and quite fast for this type of lens. In less reasonable situations, such as focusing from minimum focus to infinity, it may struggle. The camera has a pretty difficult job at 75mm, especially at low apertures, but overall I wouldn't say that the autofocus is a weakness. Importantly, the autofocus mode is not completely silent, but you won't notice it in usual situations. It is actually much quieter than with some first-party Fujifilm lenses. As expected, this lens exhibits a lot of focus breathing, but at this kind of focal length I don't think that anybody will care about that. It is not stabilized, but the X-H2 features a very effective in-body image stabilization. At 112.5mm equivalent focal length, it has once again pretty difficult job, but it is good enough even at this focal length. In the stills mode, it helps a lot with shutter speeds and also with composing. In video, it is good enough for static shots, and that is all that I should ask from in-body image stabilization at this focal length. To sum up, Viltrox AF 75mm F1.2 XF Pro is an excellent short telephoto prime lens. First of all, the optical performance is pretty incredible. It is extremely sharp across the frame right from f1.2. The contrast is excellent and there is virtually no chromatic aberration. The bokeh is generally very nice as well. It is a great match for the new 40MP X-Trans 5 HR sensor. I can't ask for anything more in this regard. The build quality is also great, so are the controls, and it is weather sealed. Needless to say, it is a great value at this price point. In this case, I can also say that it deserves that Pro designation. As I have said, Viltrox is becoming one of the most important X-mount lens manufacturers, and the AF 75mm F1.2 Pro is a great addition to the X-mount system. If you are looking for a short telephoto prime for your Fujifilm APS-C camera, I can highly recommend this one. So that's it for this video, thank you for watching, I hope that you liked this video and that you have found it to be useful. Stay tuned for more videos and maybe consider subscribing if you don't want to miss my future content. I appreciate your feedback in form of thumbs up or thumbs down. If you would like to ask anything or share your opinion, please do so in the comment section, and see you next time.